Welcome to Chapter 3, Ecosystems. What are they and how do they work? Today we'll be referring to Chapter 3, Section 1, What Keeps Us Alive. There are two main concepts for Section 1. The first is that there are four major components supporting life on Earth: the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, the geosphere, and the biosphere. Secondly, that life is sustained through the flow of energy from the sun to the earth, the cycling of nutrients through the biosphere, and that ever-present force, gravity. Starting with the atmosphere. The atmosphere is a thin, spherical envelope of gases surrounding the Earth's surface. The parts of the atmosphere are the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, the thermosphere, and the exosphere. For the purposes of environmental science, we focus on the troposphere and the stratosphere, as those are the layers of the atmosphere that are closest to the Earth's surface and have the greatest impact on our environment. The troposphere is the innermost layer of the atmosphere and is referred to as the lower atmosphere. It extends about 17 kilometers above sea level at the tropics, but only 7 kilometers at the poles. The troposphere is the air that we breathe. It is made up of 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and the remaining 1% is water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases. This 1% of our atmospheric makeup is what absorbs and releases energy, keeping the lower atmosphere warm. If we did not have this part of the atmosphere, the average temperature of the Earth would be negative 18 degrees Celsius. As it is, the greenhouse gases keep our average temperature in the Earth 15 degrees Celsius. The troposphere is also where weather occurs. This is a driving force for many parts of the various nutrient cycles. The stratosphere rests atop the troposphere and is the next layer up from the Earth's surface. It ranges from about 17 to 15 kilometers above the Earth's surface. The most important part of the stratosphere is the lower portion, as it is what contains ozone gas. Ozone is the equivalent of sunscreen for the Earth. It filters out about 95% of harmful UV or ultraviolet radiation that the Earth receives from the sun. If we did not have this sunscreen, with quotation marks, then any organism exposed to sunlight would have a higher rate of mutation and life would not be able to exist. The next main component supporting life on Earth is the hydrosphere, which is just a fancy term for all of the water on or near the Earth's surface. This includes water vapor in the atmosphere, liquid water on the surface in rivers, streams, oceans, and underground in aquifers, solid water, including polar ice, glaciers, and permafrost. One of the largest sources in the hydrosphere is the ocean, as it covers 71% of the surface of the Earth and contains 97% of the Earth's water. This means only 3% of the Earth's water is available for human consumption. Our third component is the Earth itself, otherwise referred to as the geosphere. It is made up of the core, the mantle, and the crust. These three main overarching sections often get broken down into more specific sections. We will go more in depth into that part of the geosphere during Chapter 14. The crust is very thin in comparison to the other sections of the geosphere. If you were going to compare the Earth to an apple or other thin-skinned fruit, the crust would only be the very thin peel surrounding the fruit of the apple. It contains non-renewable fossil fuels and the renewable soil nutrients that go through the various different nutrient cycles. The fourth component is the biosphere. It is a conglomeration of the parts of the previous three components that actually contain and support life. The goal of environmental science is to understand the interactions that occur within this very thin cross-section of the Earth. In order to understand these interactions, we need to understand that there are three factors sustaining life. The first of these factors is that there is a one-way flow of high-quality energy, namely from the sun to the Earth. This energy is partially being used in food webs in the environment as becoming lower quality energy, but mostly it becomes heat and is dispersed into the air or water and is eventually radiated back into space. This follows the laws of thermodynamics discussed in Chapter 2. The second factor is the cycling of nutrients. According to the law of conservation of matter, matter cannot be created nor destroyed. This means that on Earth, unless we were to gain matter from an outside source, we will have to constantly recycle or cycle our nutrients through the biosphere. If we did not cycle our nutrients, we would eventually run out of resources and life on Earth would cease to exist. Because of our atmosphere, we do not have enough input of matter from space, and so we cannot consider this to be a large enough resource to prevent the cycling of nutrients through the biosphere. Our third factor is gravity. Gravity allows the planet to keep the atmosphere and enables the movement of nutrient cycles through the air, water, soil, and organisms. If we look at the atmosphere, as we discussed earlier, it keeps the Earth warm enough to sustain life. If we did not have the atmosphere, the Earth would just be a barren rock like most of the other planets in our solar system. An example of gravity impacting one of the nutrient cycles is its impact on the water cycle. If gravity did not pull down on condensating water, we would not have precipitation. The water would continue to stay up in the atmosphere and never come to the Earth's surface. I would now like to move on to how the sun affects the Earth, specifically in regards to life on Earth and the climate. We will start with the energy from the sun. The sun is a huge nuclear fusion reaction, releasing a tremendous amount of energy into space. As space is so far away from the sun, and is very small in relation to the rest of space, it only interacts with a tiny amount of this energy released from the sun. Most of that energy does not reach the biosphere. It either gets reflected by the upper atmosphere as it's coming in, or it is ultraviolet radiation absorbed by the ozone in the stratosphere. The energy that does reach the Earth's surface has many uses. Primarily, it is used to warm the troposphere. Part of it is used to facilitate the evaporation of surface water in the water cycle. Approximately 1% of the energy reaching the Earth's surface generates wind, and all of the photosynthesis in the entire biosphere only uses about 0.1% of the energy that actually reaches the Earth's surface. So what happens with that huge percentage that we have not used yet? Well, let's see. The large percentage of the solar radiation is then reflected or bounced off the surface of the Earth, and in that bouncing action gets converted into a lower form of energy, lower quality energy, called infrared radiation. We call it heat. After it bounces off the surface of the Earth, it runs into the greenhouse gases of the troposphere. These greenhouse gases absorb that infrared radiation, which increases their energy level and causes them to vibrate. That vibration releases even longer wavelength infrared radiation, which is an even lower quality energy, and that is what helps warm the troposphere. This is called the natural greenhouse effect. The next video I want you to watch goes into greater depth with how humans impact the greenhouse effect and its potential long-term effects on climate and life on Earth. Make sure you watch both videos carefully, taking notes as needed. Remember, we'll be meeting next week during lunch to answer anybody's questions or comments about either of the two videos for today.